So this is how we are going to make this. The first thing I want to do is create this foreground thing, the background and the sky, and then we will add the clock, add these numbers. I will show you how I made this flying numbers and the falling numbers over here, and then we will add the adjustment. So let's start by creating this foreground thing over here. You can see that the canvas dimensions that I used here, well, the aspect ratio is a square one. It's not ideal, but you can make it taller if you want, or just crop parts from here. But I just started it like this, and then for the web I could crop it however I liked. So for this tutorial I will use a square canvas as well. Press Ctrl Command N, and I will use 2500 for the tutorial. I think I used 4000 pixels for the original, but anyways, this is my canvas. So let's start by adding the first image, which is this one I purchased from shooterstock.com. And you can leave the same sky if you want to, but I used another one. It's easier if you just leave this one, and it actually looks pretty good, but I wanted to use something even more subtle than this. And I'm gonna put this right over here. Now the size of this, I wanted this right side to reach more or less this half the height of my canvas size, of my canvas, sorry. And this is the place where I will put that clock. Now let's, as you can see, I added this path over here, and you can also skip this if you don't want to add it. I'm just going to show you how I did it. I just used another stock image from Pexels, which is this image over here. I'll make it just a little bigger and drop the opacity so I can see what I'm doing. And I'll create a layer mask, and I'll create it inverted actually, and I'll drop the density of it so I can see through it. Basically what I did is just drop the opacity of the layer mask. You can see it's gray now. So I'm gonna get the brush tool, and I will paint with white over this background. And now double click on the layer mask and increase the density back to 100%. And now I can move on and integrate this better with my background. I'm going to drop the opacity of the hardness to 0, and the opacity to about 60, and the flow to 40 maybe, and just paint with black and with white. Just switch colors whenever you need, and gently integrate this with your background. As I said, if you don't want to add this, no problem. I think it's still going to look pretty nice without it, but I like it. And at the beginning I wasn't really sure of how I was going to make this manipulation. Had something else in mind, and well, at the end it turned out I would add that clock there on the field. So I want to have like a path, someone walking around here, and then see that clock there. And the concept of this is just like time stops, but at the same time we have movement, so the numbers are falling, well, actually going up into the sky. But I don't know, that was just my idea. You can complete this concept and just work on it and come up with something different if you want to. Okay, now let's deal with the sky. I will select the quick selection tool, select the field layer, and just make a selection of the sky. Let's check the edges really quick. The selections that I'm going to make are really quick. I'm not going to spend time refining the edge and get perfect edges, because it's not the purpose of this tutorial. Remember, I have a complete Photoshop course, an express introduction to Photoshop, 3 hours long, which is free. I will put the link on the video description. You can sign up and you will receive a new lesson every day. So you can check that out if you want to, if you're interested. Now I'm going to mask this out, and one thing I want to do is make sure that I fill the whole thing with black here on the layer mask. As you can see, this is how the fill looks like, and here this pixel will be visible. So I want to make sure that everything is black, and with the brush you can see even this line over here, you can still see it. So I will start from here and Initially there's no problem with this line, but if you add if you add a layer style, that could be a problem, so you better get rid of that. Now we have the field ready. Let's add the background and the sky. Let's start with the sky first. I used this other image from pexels.com. You'll find the links to all of these images on the video description, well, on the page, but you also have this the files themselves. So you can see not much is visible here. It's almost has no texture, which is exactly what I wanted, but it does have just a little bit. So yeah, that's why I liked this one. You can use another one if you want to. It's really up to you. I just wanted something that was not distracting, because here I would add the model and everything, and I wanted to have a clear background. Now let's move on with the sky, with this trees, which will make our background. So let's drag this on top of the sky and sandwich it between the background, well, this field here and the sky. So let's just create a new layer mask, and with the gradient, start from here and do a gradient like that. Let's reverse this. Okay, and now that edge is gone and everything integrates seamlessly. Now I want to drag this just a little lower, and I will blur this. I'll use the blur gallery, but first let's select the layer, not the layer mask. Blur and choose fill blur. I like to use the fill blur, but you can use the Gaussian if you want to. Use 1.5. I just want a little bit of out of focus effect here on these trees. So we're not done with this yet. We're almost there. We have to drop the opacity of the trees. I'm gonna lower it to about 20% to see how they look like. 30 maybe. It's better. Yeah, 30 it's okay. And now, since you see how all this mist here looking like, so we have to add that effect here as well. Again, here you have several ways of doing it. You can go into the layer styles. I think I use the inner shadow for that. Oops, not here, not the trees, but the field. So on the field layer, make sure you don't merge it with the sky, because you need these edges here. Go into the field layer, and you can use inner shadow or you can use gradient overlay. I think with the gradient overlay it's easier, because we will not have effects here on the sides. And select the gradient overlay, and you can see what I want to do here is, yeah, this. I'll drop the scale to, let's say, 30, and I want to have the black part on the bottom. I'm gonna put this to normal so you can see what I'm doing. So this is how it will look on normal. Okay, and I want this light to be hitting the top part of the field. So I'll change this to multiply so that the black goes away, to screen, sorry. And now this is too extreme. First I will sample another color. White is not the color that I want to use. I want to use the color of the sky, so I'm going to sample the color from there, this gray. Now with the opacity and the scale and clicking and moving this around, you can control the amount of mist you add here. If you cannot move the gradient, just close it, double click again to go into the layer styles and try again, and it should work. Sometimes it happens. Now we have the background ready. The next thing I want to do is add that tree over there, and with that we're done with the background, with the scene. So let's create a new layer, and I'm going to place, this is a keyboard shortcut that I created myself, the Control-Shift-D, which is for place embedded. If you go to file, you can see this is the, let me just click OK, file, place embedded. This is a keyboard shortcut that I created myself. You can do it from edit, keyboard shortcuts, and assign whatever keyboard shortcut you want to every menu item. And I'm going to flip this horizontal, and I think this size is okay. I will make a quick adjustment. You can see the tree is very green, and here the dominant color is this dry yellow tone. So I will press Ctrl-Command-U to open the hue saturation and just desaturate the thing a little bit, and maybe increase the lightness slightly, not too much, to about 7 or so, and just move the hue a bit towards there. That will turn this into something more orangey. And with curves or levels, you can actually add more light to the tree. Get something like that. I will group everything that I have here, and let me just delete the original background because we don't need it. I'll group everything, and I'm gonna name this BG. So everything that is on the background is in this group. I'll create a new layer on top, and I will name it big clock. Now I grouped it into this big clock group, and I'll place my clock over here. It's this one. Now I rendered this in Blender and make it fit this part over here. It's too tall, at least for my taste. So I want to kind of integrate it into the ground. The way you do that is you can use many techniques, but I will use the pen tool because I think it's the quickest one. So I'm gonna remove like half of the size of this. So I'll click there, click here in the middle, make a smooth path like this, and close the path, right click, make selection, click OK, and fill this with black because I already had the layer mask created. Okay, now with the brush you can refine the edges if you want to, but one thing we want to do here is make sure you follow the curvature of this. You can if you want to make the impression that this clock is actually there into the ground, it's coming up from the ground, you should create some irregular edges here. The edges right now are too sharp, so it's not realistic. So I'm going to select a brush, a random brush from here, and select the layer mask and paint with that brush to create sort of a, actually I'm going to paint with white to just reveal parts of the edges that I just masked, and manually just build back some irregular edge there. You can use, I'll increase the spacing a little bit. Okay, like so. Let's see how that works. Yeah, not that good, so let me drop it back a little bit. So just paint back some of that edge and make sure you have something a little more irregular. If you want to smoothen this, I'm going to show you how to do it. On this layer mask you can double click, and here on the properties you can increase the feather 0 point something, 0.3, 0.4, and you're good to go. And now it looks a little better. Let's create a shadow for this, and let's name it ground clock shadow. And with the brush, I will use a normal brush with a hardness of about 30 or 40. And I'm not gonna paint with black, with pure black. I will just use this brown tone, actually this one, and place the blend mode on multiply on this layer, and just drop the opacity as well, 50, and flow maybe 30. Oh, it's even, well, I'll activate the pen pressure because I'm using a tablet. So on the transfer I will use the pen pressure like so. And if you're just using the mouse, drop the opacity to about 30 and the flow to about 30 or 40, and just make multiple passes here and create this really soft shadow just on the contact edge here, on the edge that contacts the ground. And then we'll use a bigger brush, you'll see it in just a second. Okay, like so. And now I'll increase the brush size and just paint even more shadow around here. Okay, I think it looks great. Now you can take a look before and after. Just add some shadow close to the clock. Now I have to add some some levels here. I should have turned this into smart object before I added the layer mask. Well, actually you can do it. You can drag the layer mask to another layer temporarily, right click and choose convert to smart object, and then bring the layer mask back here. The reason why I did this is because I don't want to lose the layer mask, so I want to have it here to work on it if I want to. And now I can safely use a curves adjustment. This will be a non-destructive adjustment, and you can see that I'm missing all of this graph here. That means I have no highlights, so I want to change that, get something like that. Now again, don't go crazy with the contrast. This is something that you have to keep in mind whenever you make photo manipulations. So if I created the background for a reason. Now everything that is on the background, let me just zoom out a little bit. If we have this background over here, is what dictates the colors and the contrast of the overall thing here. That's why I start with the background and I create like the general mood of this manipulation, and then I try to integrate everything into that background. And when I'm done with everything, I can add filters and increase contrast and everything. But if this background lacks contrast, I want to keep it that way on all the objects that I integrate there, and then I can safely add filters and effects to the whole image without having to go onto each individual. So that's why I'm adjusting everything according to the background and have everything integrated. So it's better to have something like this than having something really contrasty. It's not integrating into that background. So I just wanted to have a bit more light over there and probably just a little more shadow, right? So, and click OK. Now we're done with the big clock. We still have to add the glass and everything, but we have it there in place. The next thing I want to do is add those falling numbers and the model. Actually, let's add the model first. You'll have it extracted already because it's easy to extract, and just to make things quicker, I will just give it to extracted. Now the size, you can use whatever size you want. I wanted to have something quite small in contrast with the rest of the things here. I think it looked good. Now I'm gonna put it on top of everything, place it over here. Probably I'm gonna rotate it a little more. And again, you can see the contrast, the colors that she has, and the background. We have to, it's too dark, she's too dark, and she's floating in the air. It's too dark. So let's deal with the color. I'll press Control Command U, select the layer first, Control Command U, and I'm going to make selective adjustments here. I'm clicking on the hand and I just want to select her shoes. This will select this color range, which you can modify, and just desaturate this because I don't want to have that blue tone, and increase the lightness of those tones. And then you can see it automatically selected the cyans. Then I'm going to go into the reds, which is the dress, and again desaturate it a little bit and add more light. Well, actually saturation, let's leave it where it was and have something like that. And now with levels or curves, just add a little more lights on the shadows, something like that. Okay, for now we're gonna leave her there. I think it looks better than this. Not a big change, but definitely some change. And let's move on. Okay, let's start with the numbers. I'm still here working on the big clock, okay? And inside of here, I will create a new layer and I'm going to group it. Control G. And I will name this 3D numbers. And I will drag, well, actually I have to open this image of the numbers, which is a PNG file. I created these numbers myself in Blender and I just rendered them. And I will copy them one by one and put them on my image. Now you can name these layers if you want to. I will hide all of them and just start working with them one by one. I will make this one smaller. This will be the 11. Just place them randomly here. Try to more or less keep the place where they should be naturally, but more or less just keep them like that. You can take a look at the numbers that I have here and just move them up. Okay, the 11 is maybe too small, but anyways, you will notice that the 1 is missing, and you can create the 1 from the 10. You can just select it like so, and right click and choose layer via copy, and move it around there and just flip it, and there's your 1. Okay, let me just flip it like so. Probably not too close to the model. She's the model, and the clock and these numbers are should be the main focus element, but make sure they don't like compete. So this is on top, and then you have the secondary, and probably this is the primary focus point, and then you have this one and this one, but make sure you don't mix them too much. So you want to keep like a rhythm here, so people can have like a natural flow when watching at this. Now, these numbers look great, but we have to integrate them with the the atmosphere. They stick out too much, and it doesn't really look like they're floating around. A few things you can create. Now, let's start with the 8. This one is actually pretty close to the clock, so we can add a drop shadow to it. Let's reset to the default. I don't want to use global lighting. Just increase this like that. Decrease the size actually, and have that there. And now to all of this, to the entire group here on the 3D numbers, what you can do is add a color overlay. So double click to enter the layer styles of the whole group and add color overlay. Now actually not color overlay, you can sample the color from the sky and then just drop the opacity to make it look like they're more, well, just into that mist. But it's not realistic because this is going to add a uniform color on all the numbers, and I only want that effect to the ones on the top and then gradually fading out. So instead of using color overlay, you can use gradient overlay. And see that these ones are kind of white and these ones gradually have their normal color. So I will use black to this gray over here, something like that. Click OK. You can use the screen blend mode because that way the black will go away, and use this bigger scale a little bit and drop the opacity of it as well. It's not much, but you gradually add that glow of light. You can see before and after. Now we have those 3D numbers. We can still edit them later on if we need to. Let's move on and add that shattered glass here. I'm gonna show how I did that. Is not difficult actually. So let's open the stock image of the shattered glass, which is this one over here. And from here you have to choose parts of glass. Let's start with this one maybe. Like so, copy. And inside of this big clock, now we have this group of the 3D numbers, and underneath it I will, or on top, it doesn't really matter, create a new layer, group it again and name it glass. And paste the first image here and use the screen blend mode for it. I will do it with a 203. I don't want to spend too much time because there's lots of glass in here, as you can see. And the objective is to kind of my objective initially was to create an effect as well. The time stopped, the glass broke on this watch, and everything started to flow up, and that's the effect that I wanted to achieve. Now on this glass, when you change the blend mode to screen, you can see it creates this white effect. If you want to give it a color, you have to use the hue saturation, use colorize, and use this bluish tone, something like that. Do not go overboard with colorizing like so. The whole scene is not very saturated, so you don't want to go crazy with this. Saturation of about 20 is just enough, and use a tone of well, on this area here more or less. Click OK. And actually I think if you put this on top of the 3D number, it's going to look okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to get a little more depth of field. You can see it's covering that 4, and I think it looks good. Now use the same technique with a few pieces here. Let's grab this one now, change the blend mode to screen, adjust the size to fit the, your need. Use some of them, use them bigger, and then use different sizes, and just turn it like so. And if you want to use the same adjustments as I used here with the hue saturation, I can press Option Command U. This will bring up the hue saturation with the last settings I use. So it's going to add exactly the same values here. Now I will put yet another one, and then just move on and add a few more particles. Let's maybe use this one. Copy that, bring it here, change the blend mode to screen. So here I have to spend some time adding this details. but it's going to look nice if you actually do it right. And you have to imagine yourself, like, think a bit in 3D on how this would break and just create that flowing up effect. Option Command U to give it that subtle tone of blue, and yeah, let me add just another one. Use these ones as well, which have more white. They will also look good. And change the blend mode to screen, not lighten, screen. Make it just a little smaller. I don't know, maybe, yeah, this one. Okay, like that. And again, Shift Command U, click OK. And well, let me just let me just add one more and then move on, because it's going to take too long if I just spend a lot of time here adding this pieces of glass. Okay, let's maybe, oh yeah, this one I like it better. Copy it, put it there, screen. After you add a few big ones, like the ones that I have here, actually let me delete this with the eraser. After you add a few big ones, let me just rotate this slightly. After you add a few ones of the ones that are bigger, you have to add a few smaller ones, like particles flying around, like you see these ones. So paste that there, change the blend mode again to screen, and just have a few bits which should be, well, create this broken effect there. And that's why I said you'll spend some time here adding this, because it's manual work, but it definitely makes your manipulation look great. So just add a few broken bits around here. I added just a few ones here on the tutorial, but again, I'll show you the original in just a second again, so you can see, and you can use that PSD file as reference to continue adding your stuff there. You can use bigger chunks, that will save you some time. Like, for example, let's see, I don't know, let's use this part over here. Paste it there, screen, and maybe, I don't know, maybe something like that. Right over there, and Shift Command U, and well, you get the idea. Okay, so just keep adding particles like this. Now let's create the shadows of this. So you can see I have the glass into its own layer, and inside of this I will add on the bottom a new layer, and I'm gonna name it glass shadow. Now this shadow, I only want to paint it on some of the biggest chunks, which are supposed to be close to the area here. Let me show you what I mean. I will select the brush tool. I will use a bluish tone for this, something like that. I'll see if I use a blend mode. For now, I'll just leave it on normal, and I will just paint something like this. Okay, something like a shadow like that. Then I don't know, maybe here as well, a little bit, a bit of shadow like that. Probably something a bit brighter. And the reason why I use blue is because here you'll see it better, because I spent a little more time. It's this shadow over here, and especially strong on the edges. So add a bit of more of edge, like I did here. You can see I have more, I'm gonna exaggerate it here, more shadow there than on the inside, just to mark the sides. Made it really quick. Okay, so let's move on, and now comes the part where we'll add those flying numbers around there. Here we have some manual work. I will create a few brushes and I'm gonna give them to you, but I will show you how I made it. I made these numbers actually with custom brushes. I got a font that was similar to the font that I use for the 3D numbers. Actually, I use the same one, but I don't remember which one it was because I didn't save the brushes, so I have to do it again manually. Basically what you do, now I will close the big clock because we no longer need it. I have everything here, and create a new layer and group it. And this one I will name numbers 1 because we'll create several. And now get the type tool and let's type 3 because we already have the 3 over here and we can use it as reference until we find the same font, well, a font similar to that one. It's a serif font, I can tell that the serif from over there, so I'm going to change the class to serif. And I have to turn this into a brush. So the way you do that is hide everything else, press Option and click on the icon of that number there, select this like this just to make sure the brush is not getting the entire image. And it's important it has to be black, so pure black. Otherwise it will be semi-transparent. And with the selection made, go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. And let's name this 3. Again, I will give you this brushes. I will put them into the stock folder if you don't want to create your own brush, but I just want to show you the technique. Let's type. You can create all the numbers from 1 to 10. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I will make a few ones. Again, type 8, Edit, Define Brush Preset. 8. Let's type 5, Edit, Define Brush Preset, and so on. Let me just I will actually make the whole all the numbers from 1 to 10. Now you can see I have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how do you make this? We have to make several layers of numbers. You can see that I have some of them further away, some of them are blurred, some of them are not. So we have to create a few layers. Let's start with the first layer. Let's name this normal numbers. Get the brush, set the foreground color to black, opacity and flow 100%, and open the brush settings. If you don't have it here, go to Window and you will see it here, brush settings. Every panel that you'll see here is here on the window menu, so you can activate it from here. And here we have to set the settings for our brush. Instead of painting it manually and just right click, inverting, changing the size, we can do this dynamically, of course. So activate shape dynamics, increase the size jitter. This will create random size numbers. I'll select the brush tip shape just to increase the spacing so you can see exactly what it's going to do. This is a preview of how the brush will behave. Select this again, the shape dynamics. You can increase the size jitter to 100%, and the minimum, just don't leave it to 0 because it's going to make some of the numbers really small. So something like that, to about 20% of the original. We can also add scattering, and here on the shape dynamics, of course, you can add random angle, roundness as well. Even though, well, yeah, let's increase some. Add some roundness jitter as well. On the scattering, count 1 is okay, both axes. Let's see what that does. And once you're done with that, you can paint numbers like so. Okay. Now, I don't like the roundness jitter because it's going to make a weird flat effect on that. So I'll leave the roundness to 0. Now I don't want to paint like that. I don't like it for some reason, so scattering I always leave it to off, and I just click randomly with my brush 1, 2, 3, 4 around here, just add a few numbers. Now create a few ones with this number and then do the same with another number. So it's a bit time consuming because you have to adjust this every time you select a new number, but I will save this brush like it is with all of this settings, so you'll have the brushes already prepared if you want to use them like that. So I'll just create new brush preset, and I will name this 9 dynamic. Okay, capture brush size and include the tool settings. And now you will see that I have this here. I have the 9, which is the normal 9. It's going to paint the normal number, and then the dynamic, which has all those settings that's going to randomly change the size and the angle. So that's how I made this. I will create all the dynamic brushes of all the numbers. So as I said, you'll have them there, and I'll fast forward painting the first layer of numbers, and then we will move on. So I've done creating a number of brushes. You'll have them on the stock folder. If you just click the right click on the brush, click this icon and choose import brushes. Inside of the stock folder, you'll see the number brushes.abr. Just open that and you have them over here. You have the numbers with the normal numbers and the dynamic version. So we are still on the normal numbers group. I'll get the 9 dynamic and just click a few times here and there to create some random numbers. Now, if the biggest number is too big for you, you can delete it later on or just make the brush smaller before you start painting. Now, I don't want to paint that much with the number 9. That's okay. And one right over there. And with the brush, I'm going to get rid of this. Remember, you have to use a few different numbers, not just one single number. So if one is too big, just undo and do it again. It's going to randomly change the size every time you click. Well, it's enough with the 1. Let's just do the same with the 2. Ideally, you want to have just a few numbers of each. So the 5, let's do the same with the 5. I actually added too much already, so I'm going to delete some of them, like the biggest ones, because we have to make several layers, as I said. And the really small ones I'm also going to delete. And with the 8, I will probably paint one over there. Now, these are the small numbers, the faraway numbers. On these ones, we will have to add the color overlay. So double click, go into the layer styles, choose color overlay, sample the sky, and use normal blend mode and just increase the opacity and get something like that. See that? They're almost becoming invisible. So drop the opacity there. And now we have to randomly blur some of these numbers. So select each layer. Let's start with the far numbers. And what I will do is just select maybe the ones that are further away, the ones that are smaller, like this one. Go to filter, blur, and here we'll use the Gaussian blur because it's quicker. And I don't know, 1 for this one is okay. It really depends on the size. This one, which is, let's hide the rest. Let's hide the normal numbers for now, so we can select only the ones that we're interested in, and add some blur to that one. So randomly blur the numbers, and use different blur amounts. Don't use the same. Blur, Gaussian blur, and maybe to this one I'll add 3. No, it's too much, 2. And the biggest ones should have bigger amounts of blur. And maybe, I don't know, just blur a few ones, not all of them, but a few ones. On the normal numbers, you have to add that same effect, but not that intense. So I'm going to drop the opacity a little more on this one. Something like that. Okay. Well, what else? One other thing we have to add here, well, at least that I added, is some clocks around here. You can do that or not. It's really up to you. I will add just 1 or 2 because I think they look nice or interesting. Here you have inside the stock folder, you'll have a folder named clocks, and here I have a few 3D clocks which I rendered myself. I'm gonna open this one and that's it, but you can use any of the clocks there. You have a bunch of clocks which you can use. These ones are in 3D and I rendered them just with different angles, and that's it. Now I will put this into a new group. Well, actually numbers 1, they should be just called numbers, this group. And I'll create a new group on top and I will name it filled clocks, and just paint this clock over here. Here we just have to create a very subtle shadow with this sort of brown tone set on. You can use color burn, you can use multiply. An opacity of 20 and flow 30, just a bit of shadow right over there, and the same here. With the smaller brush I create the first shadow. Yeah, color burn is not going to look nice. Linear burn is going to do a much better job. And now with the soft brush, a really soft shadow over there. And of course here you can add the gradient overlay with that, yeah, see that? With that light that goes there gradually on the top. That's what I was looking for. And the same with this one. Actually, I'm gonna alt click the effect and drag it onto the other one over there. Actually, this big one should also have the same effect, so you can use the gradient overlay here as well to add that light over there with a bigger scale. And by the way, this is on screen, black to white on screen, and adjust the opacity to get the effect that you desire. And we're pretty much done, actually. One other thing I want to do is I will open the 3D numbers again, because I want to have two of these numbers here on the foreground, which is this big 3 and the 5. So let's open the 3D numbers again, which is this one, and with the lasso tool I'm going to select the 3. You can get any of them. I just chose the 3 for no reason in particular, and I will put this on top of everything. Let's name this foreground elements. Well, actually this should be a group. Foreground elements. Actually this is the 3, and I'll paste my 3 number over here. I don't know where it is. I didn't paste it. I don't know. Oh yeah, now, okay. I'll put it right over there and I'm going to the blur gallery and I will use the path blur. And here you just create a path which determines, see the number there? I'm gonna put it downwards like so, and with the speed it's going to, well, increase the apparent speed of this tree. I don't want to add too much, about 209 pixels for this canvas size, and you can use this this settings over here, and point speed and the starting point speed or something like that. I think that's okay. And do the same with another one. Let's choose the 4 maybe, and paste that over there, and I will use the same amount of blur. Somewhere there. Okay, now let's add some particles here, and then we will move on with the adjustments. You'll see you have several textures here. I will not use all of them. I just put them here to use them if you want to. These are overlay textures. Let's start with this one. It has nice particles. Just open it, paste it right over here, change the blend mode to screen, and actually I'm gonna group this. Well, actually no, we already have the foreground elements here, and just put this dust over here and make it quite big like that. Okay, and let's add another one. Here you have another texture, which let me show you what I did with this. You can use this to add particles. Just select parts of them like that, and let me close this and put them here on screen again. And I added these ones a little smaller right here to create more like dispersion, like more dirt flying around. So I'm gonna just leave it like this. I think you get the idea. So let's start adding a few adjustments. I used color lookups a lot, so I'll add a color lookup, and I used a preset from one of my packs which I created myself. So just click here on load 3D LUT, and go to the resources folder, to the stock folder, and in here you will find a preset called portrait PA21. Open that, and I set this on normal at 40%. This is the effect that you get with this. Next, I added a color fill, a solid color, and the color code that I used is 1C0017, this reddish tone, and set this to exclusion. And yeah, you can see the effect that it gets. I really love this color on the sky, and I dropped the opacity to 74% on this. So I got this tone here. So with these two adjustments, you can see you got this sort of a more mysterious, cinematic looking like effect. And we're not done with this. Now I'll create a new layer on top of everything and press Shift Option Command E. This will merge everything onto this new layer, and I'll turn this into a smart object. And now we will use the camera raw. So go to filter, choose camera raw filter. Now, I don't remember the settings that I used here because I don't have the preset, but manually I just added a few things here. I added clarity, which is something I like. Don't go overboard, but a pretty decent amount, like 20 something. I think this texture thing is new in the camera raw 12.4 version. I'm not sure. I don't want to have dehaze because this is just going to increase the contrast even more, which is not what I want. So I'm going to add actually negative value. This will increase the misty effect there. Vibrance and all of that, I'm not going to touch it. Probably decrease the saturation just a little bit and the vibrance as well. And add a bit of a yellow here on the temperature. Or actually, no, I'm not going to move it. I will change that using here the effects, the calibration, sorry. On the effects, you can add a bit of vignetting with a really low midpoint and protect the highlights a bit. And yeah, the grain. I really wanted to have grain for this. Let me just increase the zoom to 100%. Whenever you add grain or sharpen your image, use 100% zoom. And here I added a bit of grain like that, and probably increase the size and the roughness. Let's see how that looks like. Yeah. Okay, I like it. And here with the calibration, let me zoom back out. Fit view. And from here you can change the tones of your image. Let's see. The reds. I kind of want to have something negative. Saturate a bit more. Yeah. So the way you see how this looks like, you make like really big changes on one channel and see the effect that it has, and then move to the other side and see which one you prefer, and then you fine tune it from there. At least that's the technique that I use. So I go to the blue, I go to one extreme, I go to the other, see the effect that it gets. So yeah, I want negative value about there, and yeah, boom, I have it. I think we're good to go with this. I'm gonna click OK, and now I will add some glows. You can actually add those glows before you go into camera raw. I think I added too much contrast, but anyways, we will fix that a little later. Create a new layer and set it on screen. And with the brush, you get a really soft brush, hardness set to 0. Just sample a few tones from the sky, and actually darker tones, like maybe that dark. And opacity and flow to 100%. I want to deactivate the transfer. That's okay. And let's see. Now, actually, I'm going to put this on normal and see what that does. Or no, let's leave the opacity to 50% and the flow to 50 as well. And now, yeah, that's going to look a lot better. Screen blind mode, I don't like it. I'm going to use normal because I want to sample the. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. So just sample and add a few glows of light on some elements, like that. And the same here, maybe on the tree a bit. Oops, that was too much. Let's add another color lookup. It's my favorite adjustment. You can use gradient maps if you want to. And again, I use the custom brush, load 3D LUT, and I used this called Mediterranean Dark Green. This is from another pack that I created myself. You'll have the link to download the whole pack if you want to, if you're a premium member on my website, but you'll have this exact the specific adjustment here if you want to use this one, and you can see the tones that you get with this. Now I set this on lighten, and I changed the opacity to 30%. Now, yeah, or actually try normal. It's going to increase the contrast on the whole image, but it's going to give it that tint of green there, which I think it looks nice. And now to add that misty effect back, I will add a exposure adjustment, and I'm just going to increase the I have actually the exact value here on the offset, which is 0.0352, and on the gamma correction I have 0.94. okay, and this will give me that soft highlight on the shadows. See that? If it's too strong, just drop the opacity a bit. Let's leave it on 75 or so. Okay, and we're done. This is how I made this. You can add more particles. You can see the end result here is a little different. We have more light, and the colors are slightly different because of the adjustments that I use and the settings, but you can achieve a similar result. This one has more contrast. You would here, because I use more particles and stuff like that, but you can see a pretty similar result. As I said, the colors are different. Most likely it's because of the camera raw settings. Just double click here, you will see the camera raw settings that I used, and you can copy the same settings, but it's useless. It's useless to use the same settings, because most likely you will not get the same effect, because it really depends on the colors that you have, the adjustments that you use, and how you made use of levels and all of that when you created the background. So it's no point in giving you the exact same values. Just do your thing and get the same a similar look to, or actually just go ahead and create your own look. It doesn't really have to look like mine. So that's all for this tutorial. I hope you enjoy it. If you get something cool, if you use Instagram, just use the hashtag PSDBox, or send me a private message or direct message and send me your photo. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.